Hi, Peter. Hello, Kiannaa Sadge here. I actually turned live before I had all the doors shut in the house. We have an air show going on right now. Okay. All right. Now I'm set. Okay. Kiannaa Sadge here from the Bean and Sync 366 video series. Waiting for people to jump on here. I am Kiannaa Sadge and I guide people to peace. I've been doing this video series every day this year. It's a leap year. So, and I'm clearly a little forgetting my tools here. Every day this year to help people to align to the natural laws. The natural laws are how energy actually runs and functions, and when we have alignment to the natural laws, well then life becomes more aligned and peaceful. We always align with the natural laws from the inside out because the inside creates the outside world. And today we are talking about family web of abuse and the law of structure. So now remember, the law of structure is going to be structures that occur within your field that you can't see, but you can certainly feel when they are misaligned and when they're realigned. You will feel how you are creating be significantly different when you are in alignment. So I'm wondering, usually we have people jumping on here, but nobody is here. Where's everybody? Hello, hello. Okay, it's just me. Oh, we have somebody that's coming in. All right, y'all. I didn't want to start until you started flowing in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. You have been watching the videos daily? Oh, that's amazing. So good to see you, Nishat. Thank you so much for being a part of the community. And what have you learned? What have you learned? Okay, everybody's starting to come on. Good to see you all. I haven't even started the content for today. Today's content I'm going to share with you is going to be quite different than what you expect. Okay, so Peter, are you here? Oliver, are you here? Eric, are you here? Hello, Portugal. All right. Thank you so much, Nishat. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad that you're a daily watcher. This has turned out to be such a nice community that's been coming on. So when we talk about family abuses, I'm going to be talking about 5 specific aspects that I think would most be helpful. Because, you know, if you are a child of an abusive relationship, well then oftentimes you will parent in similar ways in which you've been taught, because that's how the structures work. Okay, Nishat, I see you're commenting, but you didn't ask a question because I follow you all the time. So glad, so glad. Okay. Are we ready for the topic today? Let me start by saying I'm Kiannaa Sadge and I guide people to peace. And how do we get peace? We get peace when we are aligned. How do we get aligned? We have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. All of those core bodies are in alignment. Now, we do have 18 energetic bodies. Most people only focus on their physical body. And even those people tend to ignore their physical body. But we're not going to go into that today unless it comes up in the topic. But we're talking about the web of family abuse, or the web of abuse. What did I title it? The web of family webs of abuse. That's what I titled this topic. And a web is really something you get caught in, right? And so I'm going to talk to you about 5 different aspects to consider about the family web of abuse, okay? And the term abuse could be used very differently. It could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual abuse from my perspective. But the definition that I'm choosing to go with today is any abuse that is occurring that is unkind. So we're just going to go with unkind treatment that separates people from God. So let's just say somebody has a behavior and that behavior is not in alignment with source energy creator. That's love, kindness, compassion. That is source energy, okay? So anything that is not of that is going to create separation. And that's what we're going to call abuse. That abuse is really difficult for people to understand because people who come from families where abuse is prevalent, they usually have a disconnection from God, source energy creator, meaning they don't really believe. They don't really have a sense of knowingness within themselves. So that core sense of knowing who you are gets stripped away when you come from a family of abuses. And it's very difficult to get out of because you get so conditioned to be disconnected. It is possible to find a connection within. However, it is very challenging because children who come from abusive families in the web, they have a tendency to feel lost. They get confused as to why do people do what they do. And they get really locked into the mind. And in the mind, they want to truly understand. And when they are trying to understand, they are creating this discord, this disconnection within their heart. Because the mind and the heart, they should be working in unification, in unity. But when we have this conditioning of abuse, of separation, people, the children, will often be confused and conflicted, okay? So they will be more focused on the abuser and why is the abuser treating them that way? Why does the abuser lie? Why does the abuser manipulate? Why is the abuser so mean? They get really focused on the outside, and this creates more discord, more separation, okay? The second thing that I wanted to say about this is they have children that come from families of abuse. They have a really difficult time seeing abusers as an abuser. Like, they don't want to call them abusive. They don't want to identify their behaviors as abusive because that creates a separation from what they have known. And that is the web. That is how deep the web goes, because you go from this place of familiarity, and then you feel like a disconnect. If you call them an abuser, well, what does that mean for you? Does that mean that you were abused? And if you were abused and you don't like to see yourself as abused, well then, who does, by the way? But that creates a separation, and you're already feeling a separation from within because you have been abused and conditioned to come away from God, source energy, creator. Now, I'll give you an example. What that does is it causes the children to go even more into the mind. So society already tells us the mind, let's go to college, let's be in college, let's be in studies, let's be in the head, let's be in the mind. Why is that pushed on people so much? Because it disconnects them from their heart. When people are connected to their heart, they can see the truth very easily. When people are in their mind, they have been manipulated or conditioned to believe the abusers are correct. And so they don't trust themselves. So this lack of trust really comes to be a really prevalent thing as they move forward. How does the lack of trust work? They doubt themselves. They doubt themselves. They question others. They question themselves. They question their life. Why am I here? Again, feeling lost and confused. Are they in their purpose? You know, they might post really nice pictures on Instagram or Facebook or social media. But as we know, that's all a lie. You know, that is a lie. Thank you, Oliver, for doing the admin in here. Really appreciate you. Okay. So the other thing that children who have been abused often contend with in the web is misunderstandings, right? And this is really part of how manipulation occurs, is because many children who have been abused have been gaslit by many narcissistic type personalities. And hey, Upcycle, good to see you. And therefore you perceive your environment in discord. So when you are trying to understand from the logical mind the insanity that people behave like, it doesn't make sense. And so they get back to this dance of the mental fragmentation, which occurs when they are trying to understand. So you want to get out of the mental fragmentation, get out of the thinking, and start to connect with the heart. The other thing that children often do, because they don't want to believe that the parent is as bad as they are, is they have a distorted view of what is real, what is true, what is truth. And then when they question truth, they also question trust. And then they have a lack of trust within themselves. Where does trust come from? It comes from within. It's never going to be trusting other people. So you see this web of abuse, it expands into every relationship, every work relationship, every personal relationship, every family relationship. So it's really important, this distortion, where is that occurring? It's occurring in the mind. Where is it happening? It's happening emotionally fragmentation, mental fragmentation, and that's all stemming from this lack of spiritual connection, which tomorrow I'm going to talk about spirituality. The kids tend to protect the abuser. The mother, the father, the brother, the sister, because of fear. So fear then becomes a predominant way in which they are operating, which I would say never operate out of fear, but that's how many people have learned to operate. And is that good or bad? It's just what it is. It's what happens when people are abused. They do not understand that fear is a lack of mental discipline, period. Why do they have a lack of mental discipline? Not because they're not smart, not because they're not willing, but because they have not developed the connection within that allows that discipline to have a solid foundation in the spirit. So they even question if spirit really exists. Okay, and then the biggest thing that I think is most profound and significant in this topic of the family web of abuse is this last one. And the children tend to put the abuse and the abuser on the back burner. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to contend with it. They don't want to deal with it. They want to escape, which is a low frequency consciousness. Escapism consciousness is very dangerous energetically. Nonetheless, people do it because they do not know how it compromises them energetically. If they knew, they wouldn't do it. But they tend to put the abuse and the abuser on the back burner, and sometimes they pretend that it didn't exist. They pretend that it didn't impact them. They pretend that the abuser is not as bad as they have been told or been led to believe or might think. And so they question their own selves in relationship to the abuser. And this is how the patterns repeat and become solidified. Now, just because a person has the perception that they're living the good life because they have a shelter and because they have food, but when they're lacking that spiritual connection, they will be dense. They'll be dense, they'll be disconnected, they'll be unflexible in the mind, they will have a very hard time processing emotionally. Anyway, so that is the 5 aspects that I wanted to put out here for you on the family web of abuse. It's an interesting topic. Everybody has a different experience of abuse, but the biggest issue that I see with most people is that when they are in disconnection, their tendency is to live in a quasi-delusional la-la land. And you might even see the cognitive disconnect in and how they express, where they zone out and they're not aware of it, and even the zoning out becomes like, oh, I was just doing what I do because they've been doing it for so long. That's not a healthy expression. But it is very common with children who have gone through some very traumatic experiences with their parents, with their family, and they have yet to fully process it, and there is that disconnect. Something emotionally could trigger them or mentally can trigger them, and they will disassociate. Disassociation is also an aspect that many children of abusive families will have. So you see the web really spans out significantly for how people process. And the lack of processing properly, and when I mean the lack of processing properly is that it's not really about what you're thinking. And I know that's what traditional psychology promotes, is through processing through the mind. But that's not how we heal, because we must process these traumatic experiences physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in order to find true healing. That is how we heal. And so the lack of the ability, the lack of the tools to do that really becomes a crisis in humanity, because we have a bunch of people who are totally disconnected. Okay, so I'm just going to check in the questions. I don't know if we have our regulars here today. Let's see. Nishat, so glad you're here for the live stream. I'm so happy. Please leave comments in the comments so I know you're here, and the replays, please. I'd love to see you. If you're watching the replays, please comment. It really helps me to know that I'm not talking to myself. Okay. Being both kind and dangerous. Harvey, I'm not sure what you're saying here. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. Oh, I'm so glad, Nishat, that you're finding what I'm providing as inspiring. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm just looking for questions. Hello from Essex. Good to see you here. Upcycled, always good to see you here too. Daniel is saying, I mean, we weren't really exposed to other truths. You don't know what you don't know, right? This is true, but When we learn, whether we are introduced, so for example, I have always had a spiritual connection. Spirituality was not really something that could be discussed in my family, but I've always seen things that other people didn't see. And the only person I ever told about that was my mother. Well, my mother wasn't seeing what I was seeing. She didn't know. So, it really is about the soul journey, Daniel, really about the soul journey. And do we know what we know until we know it? Always. Always. I am from California. And today we have an air show, so you guys might hear it. I like your tooth gums. It shows you never smoke cigarettes. You know what? I do have a lot of gum. And I don't smoke. You are correct. This is Ricky B. This is heavy on a Friday. I know. I didn't really think about what topic. Every day, I'm just here. Every day, and people ask for a topic, and I do the best I can to provide a unique perspective on thoughts that are from a spiritual aspect, but more energetically how it applies to us. Ricky B is saying recovery is great. However, my experience, it's important to switch off as well. I don't think that that's good. But I think what you mean, it's important to listen to your body, Ricky, and really listen to what is required for your processing. In that regard, I totally agree with you. Hi, Jeremy. Good to see you here again. Hello, hello. Mar is saying, this is something I needed to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Mar, for being here. I'm so happy that you got something from this. I really never know what people are taking away from what I'm sharing. I'm just trying to share from my heart and from an energetic perspective how these family web of abuse can be perceived differently, and really what happens. My name is Kiannaa. And I'm from USA. Thank you, Safi. I like that name. And he's saying, and how does that matter? Okay, let me see. I am American. Can't you tell? My husband said I'm very American when I first met him. My husband's from Canada, and he said, you are very American. And I didn't really know what that meant because I don't think I'm like most Americans. But he said I was very American. I never had anybody tell me that. But, hey, Ohio, Mr. Keith, good to see you. Okay, looking for questions in the chat. Upcycle, very true. India, hello. Hello, India. Lots of India here. Alex is from India. Okay, this is amazing. Everybody's from all around the world. We're talking about the family web of abuse. Any questions that you have energetically about the family web of abuse that I did not address already? Steve, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for commenting. I have my tea and my coffee today. France, bonjour. Okay, not one single question on the family web of abuse. That blows my mind. Okay, y'all, how can, if you don't want to talk about this topic, I don't need to stay on here any longer, but I will wait if there's any questions about the family web of abuse and how it works and how, any question that you want to ask about it. I'm here to support in relationship to that particular question. This was a topic that came from yesterday's live stream. I'm not answering the vegan question. I think that has nothing to do with the family web of abuse. That Oliver is asking, can the web be hidden? The web is always hidden. That's a great question. The web is always hidden because you don't know how stuck you are until you start to peel away the layers. Now, so if it's hidden, how do you know you're in a web? When you're in it, you will never see it. But how do you know, I'm going to ask my own question. How do you know you're in a web? You refuse to see the abuser as an abuser. You refuse to see the liar as the liar. You refuse to see the manipulation is manipulation. And even more so, you're afraid to address the lies, the manipulation, and the coercion that has transpired with the abuser because you are afraid of what would you do without them in your life? Who would you be without the abuse? You don't even know who you would be without the abuse. And what would happen if they died and you had really made them mad? What would happen? What would happen is you would experience freedom. But the fear is what keeps you tethered to the lie and the manipulation. And what will happen ultimately is a demise. The illusions will keep you stuck. So let me see. No, so good to see you here in the chat. Please don't ever hold back from the chat. I love seeing you in here. Web of family abuse says it all. Entangled in family loyalty, not wanting to rock the family boat. Thank you, Noel. I'm going to read that again because, Noel, you said it in such a succinct way. It's an entanglement. A web is an entanglement to family loyalty, not wanting to rock the family boat. Essentially, the family told you this thing. Let's just say the one that most people hear is that family's first, right? Family's first only as long as the abuser gets what they want. And the moment the abuser doesn't get what they want, the family isn't first, is it? The family first is an illusion, and it's a part of the web. So good, Noel. So good. Motivation Mafia. My friend has a toxic mother. She can't live alone as it's a family setup, and she is preparing for a job right now. She's capable, and her brother is being incapable, is loved more. She is a woman being hated. Hey, well, hate of women, hate of men, hate of self, that is a pattern of abuse that occurs within the family web. Okay, so thank you so much, Motivation Mafia, for bringing that to the surface here, because that is indeed the separation from source energy. That is indeed where insecurity, doubt, lack of awareness comes from. And she needs to connect with herself. She needs to connect with source energy, because that's where the strength is to follow your heart. Otherwise, you will continue to dive into that toxicity. So I did a video, years ago on toxic streams. And these toxic streams are a part of the mental fragmentation that people experience of why their mind can't stop. They think it's anxiety. It's not really the anxiety. The anxiety is a lack of understanding of the nervous system, of course, but the toxic streams are what feed into the nervous system that cause that disruption repeatedly. And that will disrupt your sleep. That will disrupt how you perceive and understand communication. And I want to say one thing that I forgot to mention is that often kids of abuse, they don't understand how they are perceived from others. So let's just say they get feedback from anywhere, whether people like them, not like them, give them feedback. They always personalize it. And that's a discord in the mind and the mental fragmentation. It's not that they're not capable of healing. It's just that they haven't been shown the way. That's my sense of it. And I would say most people have a very difficult time healing because there's so many distractions and different ways in which you can heal. Just like there's many paths to God, there are many paths to healing. Oh, tension, you want my British accent? Not today. Okay. Looking for questions. How to handle forgiveness with an abuse situation. Well, forgiveness is always going to be an aspect of connection with your heart. So if you are able to connect with your heart, then forgiveness is a part of what occurs when you are in the heart. Like, it's not something you have to effort at. It's something that comes because you decide to be in the heart and make conscious choices to serve yourself. I already did that. Okay. Anita's saying, no question. I'm the last in my family, so I have not to worry about that. The best way is to be. Okay, Anita. Dustin. Hey, Tennessee. Good to see you here. Noel, I understand. Noel is saying he's generalizing. I'm generalizing too, because this is not specific. This is like in general what happens to children that come from this type of family, right? And obviously I'm talking to the children, but knowing that the children are going to listen to this and they're still have the propensity to discount what I'm saying because this is not for them, right? They'll say, this is not me, this is them. And that's why the abuse continues. They really tend to just ignore. I think the word is ignore, and maybe it's not really ignore. I want to say it's not about ignoring, it's about denying. And denying the truth. And if you deny the truth of others, you're denying the truth of God. And if you're denying the truth of God, then you're denying the truth of who you are, where you come from, and what we're here to do, and what your purpose is. Now, this is all about being in sync. This is about being in alignment. I'm not telling y'all how to believe. I'm just presenting how energy actually works. Oh, is Peter back? Peter and Oliver here, yep. I think I read your comment already. Hey, Tammy, good to see you here, Oregon. Hello, Pennsylvania. Hey, Clint. Donnie. Any questions? I'm going to answer any questions about the family web of abuse. And obviously, this is really tied to the law of structure, right? So if we want to create new types of relationships, we have to change the structures. At least Indian families, it's all about power struggle. Ego, no communication at all. Well, nonverbal communication is 90+% of communication upcycled. So I would disagree with you there. Tell me you can't feel the tension without saying a word, right? So we must understand that abuse happens in the non-physical as well. And if you take that thought and you say, okay, what's happening to us spiritually. What kind of abuses are happening spiritually? Because for you to experience it in the physical, it starts in the non-physical. So all abuse is connected to spiritual abuse. That's why I gave the abuse definition, which is treatment that is unkind, essentially separated from God, separated from source, separation from creation, creator. Donnie is saying a toxic culture. Yeah, it can be. But again, these children may have an idea about physical toxicity, but they don't understand the mental, emotional, and spiritual toxicity that must occur first in order for that to occur. And that's where the soul journey comes in. Okay, yes, communication, hot or cold water. And Robin, if you have a situation that has to deal with a family web of abuse, please put your question in there. And I think that's a very interesting thing. I'm going to use this as an example. This is what people who have been abused struggle with. They struggle with formulating questions that will lead to help. They don't even know how to communicate. And I'm not using that as a bad thing, but they really just suppress and oppress themselves. They can say, I want help, but do they actually go get help? No, they discern, they look around, and then they get picky. And they'll say, oh, I don't like therapy because of this. I don't like therapy because of that. I don't do this because of this. And they will come up with a lot of reasons, but guess what? They'll go to the doctor. They'll go to the doctor because those are systems of abuse. How many people die from going to the doctor? That is the highest mortality rate that we have. They say it's diseases, but it's not. It's actually by entrusting these other systems, don't get me on the rant, these other people over themselves. That comes from a web of abuse. That's how the trajectory goes. And why is that something that hasn't been healed? Because it serves the system. You have to understand that these systems work in feedback loops. So you got to get out of the web in order to see the feedback loop. And Noel, I would love your opinion on that one. Salvo, hello. Thank you so much. My glasses. I tell you, I'm trying to get away from it, but when I take them off like this, I can barely see the white without it. So it's the white font that I need the glasses for. But thank you. You're so kind. And good to see you here. And Jocelyn. Hey, Mel. Happy Friday. So good to see you here, Mel. So proud of you. Everybody say you're proud of Mel. She's doing a great job. Good mom. She's a good daughter. She's doing her best every single day. We appreciate you, Mel. We appreciate you. Everybody here is appreciated. Don Little, Anita Cox. I don't know what you're saying here, Don. The Celine Dion just gets me every time. I don't understand that at all. It's regular coffee with almond milk and glucosamine. And then this is my living tea. It's called Illumination. I love it. Love it. Does one connect with the heart? How does one connect with the heart? With intention. With intention. The number one way to connect with the heart is through intention, through practice, and through frequency. So sometimes when it's really hard and people have a closed heart, or an abuser will often have what's called a black heart, because they're completely separate from God. And we know they're separate from God because of their abuses and their unkind ways. So how do we connect with the heart? It's really just intention, attention, and frequency. Every day, spending time to connect with yourself, and that will help build the connection. And as you build the connection, you can then become, the heart is a portal. You can go look up all kinds of information on the heart. There's a great company that does a lot of science if you're into that stuff. HeartMath, HeartMath.com. They do a lot of data and research on the heart. I do a lot of experiential work with my clients. The heart is a portal. And with my regulars, we go through that portal on a regular basis. And that's how we heal. All right. Let's see questions. You know, just for the record, I am not a Celine Dion fan. Not that she hasn't had popular music, but when you understand, you know, child abuse and abuses of power, I mean, she was a child bride. She was groomed from a young age and married her groomer. I mean, so I'm not really a Celine Dion fan. Okay. I live in California. Any questions about the topic? Good night. I think education system is something wrong. Well, the education system is, if you look at where that system came from, it's going to be tied to a family called the Rockefellers. Now, is that a conspiracy? No, it's a fact. And what is the history of that family? If people go down a deep dive, they will have a really good understanding of where the separation is created from. Okay, let's see. Please take my name. Upcycled. Me and my husband struggle with my in-laws because they don't consider emotional and mental well-being important. Well, why is something upcycle? Why is something that you value important that they value? So they don't have the same values of you. So can you respect and honor their experience and desire to not have that emotional and mental well-being? That's their preference. That's their choice, right? That's the beautiful thing about consciousness, is that we have conscious choice. And we can either consciously choose to accept all of who we are, even though we can't see it, we can definitely feel it. And we want to do that for others as well. That's reciprocal. And they may not understand your perspectives, but you can understand theirs and accept theirs because you're the one that's growing in consciousness. So if they do not resonate with what you're doing, you may want to look at different ways in which you engage with them, that there is a common ground. So don't try and connect with them on things that they can't connect on. Like, Lord knows that I have people in my life that have zero spiritual connections at all. They go to church, but they're not really spiritually connected. So that does not, we don't talk about spirituality. We don't talk about God. We don't talk about church. We don't talk about things that aren't a common ground. We focus on, the things that we can talk about, and we just keep in perspective that certain people are there to serve certain roles. And in fact, I have very few friends that I speak about the differences that we have about emotional and mental well-being. And it has been a practice for years. My husband helped me with this, to not consult to people for free, and don't consult to my friends. So they will sit there and tell me and have emotions and be on the brink of something, and it's not my place to give my opinion, give my suggestions. Unless they ask, I do not say anything. I work to not say anything because it's really, people have their own path, and maybe being spiritually connected to their heart is not their path at this time. And we all have a time, right? A time. Okay, Akash is asking if I'm a doctor. This is a good intro to say, no, I am not a doctor. I am not a doctor. Did you hear what I said about doctors earlier? I do energy psychology. I help people align and clear the patterns of abuse through the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. That's what I do. I do not do psychology. I do not do anything traditional. Okay. Noel is saying, I think most people are scared of the great unknown. The part of the reason we put up with things from our family is that we wouldn't put up with from strangers. Yeah, I think that's true, Noel. But I remember having a distinct conversation with my father when I was 17, and he spoke to me in a way that was unacceptable, in my opinion. And I told him he wasn't allowed to talk to me like that. And I hung up the phone. And I said, we don't even need to talk. Now, in hindsight, was that, I've just always been very strong with how I want to be treated. Now, I will say that I personally, in my own mind, would say that I didn't perceive my childhood as abusive. However, I would say I was bullied. Now, is that abuse? Yes. So I want to just use that because that's how children kind of minimize what has happened in their family, and we find other words to make it not seem as bad as it is. But I would say it wasn't physical, it wasn't mental, it wasn't emotional, it was more spiritual. We weren't allowed to talk about our connection to God because it was so divisive in our family. So it was just like a taboo topic. So there is the separation from God and how that happens in a family. Also, I was always a very sensitive young kid, and I would sense things, like hate and discord, and nobody understood why I was so perceptive of those things. And I would just spend a lot of time by myself because it felt better than being in communion with my family, because energetically, they may not say things, but they did. But they would energetically, I could feel it, and it wasn't loving. And I could feel that it wasn't love. And I knew in my heart that I was a child of the creation. Yes, my parents birthed me, but I knew inside of me that creation is at the core of who I am. And that's something that I couldn't ever talk about. So I was always really interested in spirituality and God. And so I went to, and I liked rules. I liked rules because it gave me a sense of safety. And I've told this story before about how I went to Catholicism, but I don't resonate with Catholicism. Being Catholic is not who I am. I don't really align with dogmatic religions and ways of being and the hierarchies. Hey, Peter, good to see you here. Thank you so much for your inspiring content that you helped me formulate. Indian, I have a question. What is your knowledge on empaths? I think I've done a video in this series on empath, but I would say empaths have a way of picking up on energy. So when it comes to like what I was just talking about, being a very sensitive child, an empath will have a knowing of another's experience and perceive it. It's an extrasensory ability. Now, many empaths will absorb energy. And this is what's also known as the wounded healer. It's an archetype. And you don't want to be a wounded healer. Let me tell you, that is a hard path. And if you are absorbing energies, that is dangerous. And I think Daniel, I gave Daniel a warning on this because Daniel works within a medical field. And I believe that, that is when your energy field is vulnerable, you will absorb energy, and also you will have higher levels of stress and distortion in perception, and there will be a level of discord that's difficult to articulate, but it will be because of the absorption of energy, which is usually parasites. Okay. I hope that was helpful about the empath aspect. Is everything in the mind? Wait, is mind? I don't know what you're saying there, Tempa. I don't understand that. Tempa is saying the system comes from a ruler system. Well, I would say that it comes from, I would make a correction. The system does not come from a ruler system is a different way of saying hierarchy, okay? So yes, a hierarchy, but also a system that is based on demonic energy. So that demonic energy is all about siphoning life force, okay? And how do you siphon life force? You traumatize. So that's why we have lineages of trauma within families, because there are demonic energies that nobody talks about, and they're starting to talk about it now. It's becoming more prevalent now, but for many, many years, people didn't talk about this energy, and that's because it was ruled by fear. So people were afraid if they acknowledged that demonic energy existed, then it would come to them. But what actually is happening is that demonic energy feeds off of ignorance. Because if you don't understand, then you can't guard yourself or protect yourself or align yourself with the one power that will keep that energy from taking your life force, which is your pure connection through your heart in connection to creator energy. Is that helpful? In this type of generation, in future man, how we live on the earth, technology or another one, which is important to everyone. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Namaste, namaste. Diddy's back. Okay. Thank you so much, Ati. What makes me believe in God? That's a really good question. It's not really about the web of abuse. So. My direct experience, I would say, is what makes me know. So it's not so much my belief system, although my belief system is aligned with God. I believe it is fully aligned now. I wouldn't say that it has always been that way. I've gone through ups and downs, but I would certainly say that when I have fully aligned with my purpose, which is what I do now, it's a knowing. And how do I know? Because I see it in everything I do. I don't see anything separate from God. I believe in the law of one. I believe I've seen oneness. I've seen the merge beyond the veils. I've experienced it. I know it. It's cellular memory. So hopefully that helps you. Upcycle, I don't understand what you're saying here. Maybe you're talking to somebody else in the chat. I don't understand the question. Noel is asking about emotional pain. Well, most people deny their emotions, Noel. So I've done lots of videos on emotions. I don't know. I can look at a different way to approach that topic, maybe. Emotional pain. I'd have to think of what a different way that I can approach that. Usually I teach people how to feel their emotions, but most people have fear, and their fears keep them from doing the emotional work because they're so disconnected, which is why I always go back to it's important to be in connection to your heart, because when you're in connection to your heart, your fears don't rule every aspect of your life. Thank you, Josh. Noel, you got a redacted. Did you take that back? What do I mean by energies? Everything is energetic, so that's what I mean. Oh, energy parasites. Energy parasites are real, right? So people have physical parasites and they also have energetic parasites. All physical parasites will originate in the non-physical. So when I work with my clients, I always check to see if they have parasitic tentacles, cords, if they have parasites in their field, because that will change when I run the energy through them, how they receive it. Oftentimes I recommend my clients do parasite cleanses if they want to get in greater alignment, because parasites basically suck the life out of you. So if you are tired, exhausted, have headaches, have bathroom bowel issues, almost universally it's going to be tied to some kind of parasite within the system, within the body system. And most doctors, at least here in America, they do not check for that. So you might have to go to an outside source to do that. And usually that is done through a stool sample. And that's the way it's done. Although I have seen parasites in blood, and it does go into the blood systems, but you mostly will see it in the stool. And then you will need to do a particular cleansing for that. For me, I had to cleanse for well over, I'd say a year and a half before those were gone from my body. They were gone. I could get rid of them energetically faster than I could physically. So once something becomes lodged in your body physically, it's very difficult. And where would you get parasites from? You could get it from environments. You can get it from being unaware. You can get it from being in toxic relationships and running toxic streams, which you can go watch my video on that. You can get it from a lot of things. Ati, are you saying that I have old-fashioned honesty? Is what I'm doing old-fashioned? Mel is saying, I remember going to church as a child and grew up of women were gossiping about my parents' divorce. I felt awful inside and like church became everything I thought it wasn't. Yeah, that's so interesting, Mel. You know, my experience of the church kids this is in high school, is that most all of them were disobeying the sinful life. And they were having sex and getting pregnant, and they were in high school. So I thought, you know, I really saw the, what do you call it, incongruence in what was being told and prophesized and suggestion, and the reality was different. So yeah, and really unkind, right? The judgment that comes from the church is quite harsh, and it's And to me, if you want to look at churches, this is just me, my opinion, right? My channel, my opinion, is that when we have churches that are in judgment of us, that is separation from God in and of itself. So are they really in alignment with the God that is all of creation? Are they in judgment of things that are part of God? You know, and this is something that's really important. And, you know, when I definitely work on this, you know, to deny evil is to deny God. And so do you want to do that? Anyways, Top Dog is saying, you wear those glasses beautifully. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're hopeful today. That's beautiful. So do I have proof demons exist? What do you mean by proof? By experience? Is that proof enough? Yeah, I do. I have seen evil on this planet for sure. I have experienced the wrath of evil on this planet in more ways than I would ever want to say that I have. Top Dog says you are right on the point. I recently feeling the same way that you broke it all down. Oh, well, good. All right. Thank you, Top Dog. What are your thoughts on meditation and the use of mantra? If that feels right for you, go for it. I think you have to feel within yourself what feels good. I think meditation is good. I think the dogma around meditation is quite, for me, I don't really enjoy that, but there are a lot of rules to some meditations. I know I've talked about one that I did. I did a Kriya. A Kriya is a yoga meditation. And I did that for about 4.5, 5 years until I didn't do it anymore. Why didn't I do it anymore? I had a run-in with evil and it took me away from my practice. And I changed too. I resonated differently with it, so I stopped. So does that mean that the Kriya was bad? No. Does it mean that I was aligning for something different? 100%. So you want to see if what you're aligning to, what is happening in your life. I will also say back at that time, I really was naive. And I think I'm very intelligent. I am smart and I am aware. But there was some things that I was unwilling to see at the time. And that's why I talk about being willing to see what is, because what you are unwilling to see can be very hurtful for your evolution. So being open, being totally open, being very willing to explore your heart, to explore painful experiences, to explore your traumas is very important to the evolution of your soul. It's very important to the evolution of the heart. Yes, all things on empaths are relatable. That's exactly correct. Can a very normal person help or limit it from coming or sensing or absorbing it? I don't understand that. Can a normal person help or limit it from absorbing other energies? Yes. When you have alignment within your physical core, your mental core, your emotional core, your spiritual core, and you have a way of seeing, sensing, or feeling your field, which is what I teach my clients in their first session, you can tell when it's been infiltrated. But most people walk around just like they don't have an energy field. And they don't know when something's gotten in. So therefore, those things burrow in their field and in their life and in their mind. And then they become anxious and they don't know why. Well, that's why. Oh, emotional scarring. So yeah, okay, emotional scarring. Well, almost, I learned this early on, that, so for example, like when people get married, they have a contract, right? And when that contract is broken, it creates a scar on the heart, is what I was told very early on in my life. And I didn't really understand that because I didn't understand what the contracts meant. I didn't understand what vows meant. And this is how that's a piece of the scarring, is that those broken vows that you aren't conscious about. Yeah, so okay, I got you, Noel. Tomorrow I was thinking about talking about the spiritual journey and just leaving it really open and in general. Did you know that Morocco was the first country in the world to recognize the United States? You are in the hearts of Moroccans. Okay, I did not know that. Daniel, interesting. You are also saying all illness. Yes, Daniel, that is exactly what I'm saying. Daniel is saying that all illness originates in the energy field first. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying 100,000,000%. That's why I struggle with the field, and why I struggle with the fields of psychology, because they don't address the real core issues. In my opinion, Daniel, I'm not saying you're not good at what you do and that you don't help people. I'm not saying that. But all illness will come in the spiritual body first, in the non-physical. So how many people are addressing the spiritual body in your field? How many people are addressing the spiritual connection in psychology? Not very many. Daniel, you might really enjoy the book When the Body Says No. I've recommended it on here before. I recommend that book to all of my clients who are willing to read. And I will help them clear what triggers, because they'll get triggered from reading the book. But When the Body Says No is by Gabor Mate. And I would not suggest listening to the voice. I would suggest reading the book, because it's a different frequency. And that book is a really good book that really exemplifies with beautiful stories of how illness emerges throughout someone's life. And I was guided towards that book as I was trying to process my mother's death. And it was extremely illuminating for me to really help me understand the pains that my mom was going through, that I was unable to really understand in the logical mind, because, you know, I'm very different than my mother. I was always very expressive emotionally. She was not. I was always very attuned. I always was like listening to my heart. Didn't always follow it, and not following your heart has repercussions. But I always, and now I work to follow my heart, and it's brought me to doing these videos, 366 videos this year, every single day. This is not something I wanted to do. This is something I was guided to do. And I am doing it, and I am learning from it, and I am learning to be in service to humanity in a way I never imagined. But I think these conversations are really valuable and important. And, you know, and for my spiritual journey, they were nowhere. Nobody was talking about this stuff when I was going through a hard time, trying to figure things out. And, you know, I wish I would have had somebody like me. So I'm giving and then that's basically my service is, you know, to give what I wish I had, which is, you know, transparency, honesty, integrity, love, compassion, kindness, healing. And I struggled to find people that were willing to speak the truth about what was happening. It's very hard because so many people, they're conscious, they're healing people from the level of their consciousness. And if we have wounds, if we have traumas that we have not contended with, that's going to change and distort how we are perceiving and seeing others. So I really work to just be present, to be in service to what I'm guided to, and I do the best I can to give my clients what they need, not always what they want, but I really want them to have what they want. But sometimes that's energetically, in conflict, because, people's preferences and how they are resonating are often in conflict, and they don't know that. How do they not know that? Because all they see is the challenge, but the challenge is coming from the conflict. So did I miss anything, Daniel? So yes, Daniel, I'm saying that. It says, what if you were born with a disability? Is that an energy problem perhaps stemming from somewhere? Well, our DNA, we can't discount our DNA, but what I'm going to say is going to be, maybe controversial, but I will say all things come from Creator and nothing is a mistake. And I will say that I have something that others would consider a disability, and that's called dyslexia. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was a little girl, and I was put in special ed for the slower kids who read things backwards or flipped things around. And and my teacher, Miss Dewart, was one of the best teachers. I actually went back to try and find her, but she had died. But she always made learning fun, and she made me do so many crossword puzzles. But I will say this, I do not see dyslexia as a disability as it's told that it is. My disability is really a gift, and that's how I see energy. I don't see energy backwards. What we're taught is backwards. I see clearly. I am just not conditioned to see how other people see, which is how I do what I do. So I've always seen my teams as they are. I don't see them as dysfunctional per se. I see them as a system, and I address the systemic issues that are causing the flow issues. But conditioning and disabilities, those diagnoses, I think they really do a disservice to people that have been diagnosed. Now, I understand, and I have clients that are really happy to get their disabilities diagnosed, but I think that's dangerous. I think that's unfortunate, and I don't think that's necessary. That's my personal opinion on disability. Now, if we go and we say that God and Creator has a purpose in everything, it's our job to understand, to integrate, and fully accept ourselves. And I think by labeling people with disabilities, it's another way to engage in non-acceptance and self-hate. And I'm just checking to see if that's misguided. It really hurts my heart to see so many people look outside themselves for a label that fits them when we are so much more than a diagnosis. So let's go back to being born with a disability. Our DNA, there are aspects of our DNA that get locked and unlocked. And it's our spiritual journey that unlocks things, okay? It's not going to be unlocked when we lock it in with a diagnosis. That will actually keep us from our spiritual exploration, and that will keep us small. And which is part of the purpose of a diagnosis, is to label people separate from creation. Ooh. That's not the normal opinion, I don't think, but that's my opinion. I'm sure if you ask somebody else, what is it to do? What am I talking about? Today we were talking about the family web of abuse. There doesn't seem to be a lot of questions about that. Am I missing them? Do you want me to continue with these questions? Thank you, Dawn. Noel, thank you for the time you give, and it is appreciated. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. You make me stay on here longer because it's really a highlight of my day to have these deep conversations. Top Dog is saying, may God bless you, and I appreciate the information. Plus the insight here, for a lot of us out here who struggle to understand and comprehend your honesty doing God's work. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much, Top Dog. And I think, a lot of this information needs to be taken beyond our comprehension, because our spiritual expansion is beyond the mind. Thank you. Oh, congratulations on veterinary college. I love animals. Okay, I think I have gotten all the questions. So it's been over an hour. I want to thank you for your time, your energy. I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to be talking about the spiritual journey. I think it's time to just have an open discussion about the spiritual journey and about what that is, and about how that is different for all of us because of our unique soul signature and our unique perspectives, our unique lineage. However, all of us are here having a spiritual journey, whether we recognize it or realize it or not. And then probably Sunday, I will look at Peter, I will look at your list and see what the next topic is. Oh, good, Daniel. I'm so glad that was helpful. I don't even remember what I said. But I'm glad that you found it interesting and helpful. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you coming on here, giving your time to listen, to contribute, to comment. My name is Kiannaa Sadge, and I help guide people to peace. I'm doing these videos every single day from 12 to 3 p.m., somewhere in that time frame. So if you're new here, please put on your notifications for the notifications, because I do it within the range. I think tomorrow I might come on early at 11. Phone Kid, you can take your comments elsewhere, okay? Thank you. We care. That's why we're here. I come on here every day at between that time, but I'm thinking tomorrow I'll come on a little bit early and talk about the spiritual journey. And then if you're interested in learning more, please like or comment in the comments, and leave. If you watch a replay, please put a comment in the comments after you watch it. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you would like to see more. As I said, I'm doing these videos every day this year. This is a 366 videos every single day to help align others to the law of one, the natural laws, how energy works. Today's topic was the family web of abuse. I covered 5 aspects, and those were all in alignment and to help us unwind from the law of structure to recalibrate ourselves. Let me correct that. We do not unwind from the laws. We correct our patterns so we can align to the natural laws of structure. Because if we are in a family of abuse, that's going to take us out of the natural laws. The natural laws will always be in communion with our heart and our ways of being kind. And that means kindness in our thoughts, kindness in our behaviors, and kindness in our heart. It's not just saying you're kind. It's actually being kind, compassionate, in alignment with the truth of Creator. So Yes, it's just like quantum physics. That's what we're talking about. Yes, ABC. You got it. You said it in a nutshell. But if I talk about quantum physics, a lot of people don't understand quantum physics. So, but this is exactly it in a nutshell. Self-help, quantum physics style. All right, y'all. You have a great day. Thank you so much for being here. Bye. Oh, before I go, thank you to Oliver for moderating and Peter for moderating and for all of your contributions. I appreciate you guys. Okay, have a great day. Bye.